But again, what makes Chris Washburn different than any other NBA player? First of all, I'm the last three-time high school All-American. I did things in high school that LeBron didn't do, Magic didn't do, Kobe didn't do, Michael didn't do. And again, that still didn't lead me to a prosperous NBA career because, again, thoughts and actions of my own decisions. Went to NC State for a 4-year scholarship. Only lasted 2 years, but I only played basketball in 1 year, again, because of my decisions. I wanted to take a stereo and I thought that would be fun, a joke for another football player. But again, sometimes when you do things, it's not funny to everybody.
That's right.
And so sometimes you find yourself in a situation that you didn't mean to find yourself in, but you're there now. So I got put off the team my first year, and I had to sit on the team bench for every home game, just so that I would feel that disappointment from the team. Now again, I did that. My next year, I did very well at NC State. Took my team to the Final 8. Also had a chance to go to the elite, to the Final 4. But we lost to Kansas at that time. Now my decision was to go back to NC State for my 3rd year. But again, sometimes we have a plan, but there's also another plan that we don't know about. During this time, because I don't want to divulge too much stuff from the book, so I can't say a lot of things and what happened. But I got up one morning to go to class. Some other guys came by, other athletes, and I'm one of those guys that when you're young, you don't want to feel like you're the odd one in the group. So if you did something, I did something. You know, and a lot of times kids, especially in this generation, find themselves following the crowd. Although I was 7 foot tall, I was still a follower, to say. I led on the court, but once that came from off those lines, I followed anybody. And a lot of those decisions led me to the consequences that I ended up suffering from. So like I said, I was going to class one morning, some athletes came by. I had a 7:50 class. A lot of times that's 10 minutes before 8 o'clock for some of y'all. So now, I'm supposed to be in this class. The guys come in, because they're athletes, you know, I let them in, but they had a substance. I had never seen it before. And they asked me if I wanted to try it. Now, my mom hit my head first. No. They asked me again. My dad hit my head second. No. I went to the shower and came out. Now peer pressure is on. The 3rd time they asked me, I said, well, it might not hurt. Now this is Chris talking. It might not hurt. And I tried it. And to this day, I never went to that class again. I never went back to class. What I tried was cocaine at 19 years old. And so, because I had a good basketball year, just that 1 year, I was able to go into the draft. And not just going to the draft, but going to the draft as a lottery pick. Meaning that the top 7 players are guaranteed $1 million contract, no matter what. And believe it or not, I was a number 3 pick. Should have been number 1, but I was a number 3 pick, meaning that I was guaranteed millions of dollars. And I got that. But what the NBA didn't know was they had just invested in $1 million crack in it. Because once I got my money, and I was able to do what I wanted to do, I bought my mom the house, I bought the cars, I bought the Rolls Royces. But at night, when everybody was sleeping, guys were getting ready to go to practice the next day, I was in the projects, smoking crack. Leaving straight from the projects, going to practice, or going to a game. Now my heart is already beating fast from the cocaine. Now I just imagine walking in a crowd of 27,000 people, and you high, and you have to perform. So now my heart is beating double fast. And as doctors told me, they don't know why I didn't die on the court. Now subsequently, I started having grandma seizures, things like that. Now, overall, I lost my NBA career. Now again, 3rd pick in the NBA draft, at 19, I'm making $87,000 a month. A month. And at the end of the month, I'm almost broke. Understanding that I would go to the bank on Friday and would take out $15,000. And come Monday, I'm the first one in the bank line because I'm broke. I just spent $15,000 in the weekend. Now we're going to, I had a $1.7 million home, but you would find me in the projects, in houses that we were smoking crack by candlelight. I would pass out on the floors. Sometimes I would go and pay for their light bill because I wanted to see where my crack was going. And I felt like somebody was stealing it. So I would pay for the lights to be turned on. I'm in places where there's no water. But I have a $110,000 Mercedes sitting outside of their house. And I didn't think anybody was recognizing any of this. But if you're a $1 million person, you know there's people watching you because the NBA had FBI's everywhere to watch us to make sure we're not being robbed, we're not being taken and captured or kidnapped or anything. And I didn't know all these kind of things. But after 2 years, 3 years of playing NBA basketball, I was kicked out. And I was kicked out and banned for life. Not just for a few years. They banned me for life. Now, prior to all of this, I'd already been to rehab 3 times that they sent me to. Each day in rehab cost me almost $2,200. I understand I was going to programs that was for 30 days. And they would keep me for 90 because that's just how messed up I was. And the first thing I would do was when I was leaving treatment was I would have my dope dealer pick me up as a family member. And by the time I got home or to the airport, I was already high. When I got traded from Golden State to Atlanta, I'm thinking that this is a chance for a new start. But what I didn't remember was I was taking me to Atlanta. Wasn't nothing changing. I was just changing locations. Although I was leaving California, going to Atlanta, the lifestyle I was leading at that time, you can find drugs anywhere if you're looking for it. Just like with anything, if you look for it, you can find it. So when I got to Atlanta, I had a friend of mine pick me up from the airport with no intention of doing anything wrong. But I didn't know he was doing drugs at that time. So again, your buddy comes in, you know he's a millionaire, you know he has a drug problem, you have a drug problem, what's the first thing you say? Let's get high. And I'm again one of those guys, although I was the money maker, I was still one of those guys that fell into the traps of, I'll take care of it, I'll do it. Because see, when I was younger, being an only child, I never had a real friend. See, back in the 70s, 80s, those families were 3, 4, 5 kids. So when they would go home, they had siblings. When I would go home, I had my mom and dad. So a lot of times during the day when I was younger, I would get ice cream. Have the kids come home and I would feed them ice cream so I could have the kids to play with me. And after the ice cream was gone, they were gone. So as I got older, I traded ice cream in for cocaine. As long as I had the cocaine, I had friends. But now understand this, I'm a guy, I'm not the best looking, but I look something like it. You know what I'm saying? So I had a lot of women around the country. So when I got banned from the NBA, I'm like, well, let me call such and such. I'll go stay there. Believe it or not, in one day, all those girls changed their number. I couldn't find not one person to accept my phone call. And so now here I am, again, alone. And the worst thing about me is I didn't like being alone. Because that's where I came from. So when I was actually banned from the NBA, it was like, and I found out this is the first year that ESPN started. And I'm sitting there getting high. And they came across the line, Chris Washburn banned from the NBA. And I wasn't thinking that I lost my $87,000 a month. How am I gonna pay for this $10,000 a month for rent or mortgage on this house? I didn't think about none of that. My thing was, good, I can get high, no practice tomorrow. And I did that for the next 3 years. I didn't run out of money for 3 years. And I was spending almost $10,000 a week. And understand this, now I had the Mercedes, I had the Porsche. But when money started getting funny, I started pawning Porsches out. I had dope dealers living in my house. Boy, I'm standing in the guest room and they're standing in the master room. Because I had to knock on my own bedroom door. Say, can I get a little piece of dope? You got something for me? And so I now invited the outside into my circle. Now none of this ever stopped because again, I had people around me that would yes me to death. As long as I said, let's do it, hey man, was that all right? Yeah, that's cool. I had yes men everywhere, yes women everywhere. But when things started getting a little worse, they started jumping ship. You know, tonight, I've helped you years. Now here I am. Now at this point, I don't have anything. I'm homeless, sleeping on the streets. I'm eating out of trash cans. I'm watching folks as I'm sitting across the street. When they finish, what's outside, I'm in Texas now. As they finish their food outside, I walk by, see what they left on their plate. I would snatch it off, walk down the street, keep eating. I would go inside the stores. Even now, I think about how I'm still here. Because the one thing I used to think about when I went to the stores, see, stealing to me was always taking something out, taking something from someone. So I would go into the stores. So I would get me a card, I would get a loaf of bread, I would get meat, mayonnaise, and I would make sandwiches in the stores. I would tear the bread open, put my finger in the mayonnaise, spread it on the bread, make my sandwiches, and walk in the store and eat because I wasn't stealing. So that's where my mind was at. And so one of the managers called me and told me all you had to do was ask me, I will feed you. And then I made a promise to myself years ago, I would never steal from friends. I would never steal from family members. I would never steal from churches until I stole from friends, until I stole from family members, until I broke into the church and stole from the church, and my mom went to church. So everything I told myself, I did. And now I come to think about why am I still here? Because God stopped answering my prayer because a lot of times I got in trouble. Like a lot of us, my day, God, you get me out of this, I won't do it no more. Promise you I won't do this no more. And just as soon as he answered that prayer, I would go back to doing what I wanted to do. Forget what I said. But because I had people behind me, my mom, aunt, grandmother, that he couldn't turn his back on them because they hadn't done nothing wrong. So I got my prayers from somebody else that I was still here because at 55 now, I've been losing friends since I was 14. And as I've gotten old, I've seen guys in better shape, had better careers, and I'm still dying. And I'm wondering, why am I still here? I've been artist, I've been held hostage a couple times for drugs I've been paid for. I've been in prison. I've been shot. Now, remember I used to tell you, I was spending $10,000, $15,000 a week. I borrowed $35 worth of drugs on credit from a friend of mine who stayed in my house. And because he was working with somebody else, when they came across me and asked me for the $35, I didn't have it. He shot me in the foot at 24 years old, which ended my career. Although I was banned from the NBA, I was still able to go overseas and play basketball. So when they shot me in the foot, that ended the career. Even now, I walk with a limp. I have a hole in my foot that if I jump too high, come down wrong. Because of how the hole is in my foot, it can break my whole foot in half. So that's what I took from the streets. I understand I stayed in the streets 14 years of getting high. And 2000 came around. My dad was on his deathbed, cancer. And I couldn't get clean with him. He passed. I was at the funeral. I go to his casket. I'm a die person. I went to jail in the court would go in the bathroom to get high. I took my drugs everywhere. I went to that funeral with my pipe in my pocket. And before we closed the casket down, that last time you could see a person, I put my pipe inside my dad's pocket. I'll never do this again because somebody said that my mom. And in 2001, I started my journey with